Counter-Strike, one of the most prolific and well-loved video games of all time. It's a franchise with such wide appeal and which has brought so many great memories to people all around the world that it makes it all the more infuriating that ever since the launch of CS2, the game has really sort of stagnated, with no clear sign of any non-cosmetic related updates on the horizon. It's definitely left a lot of people worried. What does the future of Counter-Strike hold? Can Valve, still maintain this game that they've really brought up and made into the phenomena that it is? But those are, the trifles of the layman, right? You and I, we know what's going on. As we both definitely know, in our heart of hearts, all of this radio silence from Valve is a definite indicator that they're getting ready to release one of the greatest additions to the Counter-Strike series in recent memory and maybe of all time, and that is the CS movie, okay? There's no doubt that Gaben has seen all the hype surrounding the absolutely peak cinema that is the Mario Brothers movie and the Minecraft movie, and considering CS is obviously way more influential than either of these two little indie titles, I think making a Counter-Strike movie has to be something that Valve is devoting their attention to. It just wouldn't make sense if they weren't. And after a lot of research on this topic, I think I'm pretty confident in determining who is going to be cast in each of the roles of the main characters. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. Now, I know you're probably thinking that sounds, kind of nuts, but by the end of this video, I think I'm going to have you pretty much convinced. We all know that it takes 10 players to play a round of Counter-Strike, 5 Ts and 5 CTs respectively, right? So that means we've got 10 spots to cast in the movie. That's 10 opportunities to bring on some great actors and let them portray the game of Counter-Strike for a whole new audience. However, there is one obvious problem that many of you may have already picked up on. All of the guys on each respective side look exactly the same, so how could we possibly cast a diverse set of characters this way? Well, for those of you that are well versed in CS cosmetics, you might remember that back when operations used to be a real thing and not just a running gag, 3 sets of agent skins were released that completely reinvented the individuals in each of these roles. And some of the guys and gals here have a lot of personality, so there's little doubt in my mind that we're going to be seeing some of these characters used as inspiration in the movie adaptation. I think that only makes sense. So although there's more than 5 different characters to choose from on each side, there's definitely a handful of clear frontrunners, and I have no doubt they'll be making a stellar appearance in the Counter-Strike movie. So let's go through the T side first, yeah? First and foremost is the leader of the group, where I think you'd put Crasswater, okay? This is a big, beefy guy. He's got a real sinister appearance, okay? Way more than any of the other T agents in the game. He's a real mean dude. I think it's obvious that there's also only one man fit to portray such an imposing character on screen, okay? And that is the one and only Danny Trejo. I mean, look at them side by side, right? Trejo's the perfect fit to play Crasswater in the Counter-Strike movie. But the thing is, the more I think about it, Danny's not exactly a dude who plays a lot of front and center leading roles like that, you know what I mean? So in order to make sure that this movie succeeds, Valve's also gotta have a top-notch cast backing him up. It's the only way it's gonna happen. This brings us to our next guy on the T side, who I imagine would be like Crasswater's right-hand man, you know what I mean? And that's the GOAT, the elite trapper Solomon. Now, this is a man with a very distinctive appearance and personality. He's got a very nice tropical shirt, and he's got a pair of sunglasses, so you know he means business, right? So who better to portray my GOAT on screen than an actor with an equally refined sense of coolness, that man being Samuel L. Jackson. I feel like Trejo and Jackson would complement one another so well. You can already imagine all sorts of cheeky, witty banter they'd be slinging back and forth. It could stand to be quite funny. But there's also one other big reason that I think Samuel L. Jackson is perfect for the role of Solomon. Because as you can plainly see from what's on your screen now, he has also got a dope pair of glasses. Next, we gotta move on to the ladies, the female representation on the T side, and I would be absolutely remiss not to include Vipa Sista on our T side team. Now, for the uninformed, Viper is a skin beloved by literally everyone. She's the celebrity crush of the T side, there's just no doubt about it. But she's also a total badass. I mean, look at her muscles, right? She's got a ton of muscles, she's a muscular gal. I would. So I think it's important that Valve casts someone who is attractive but also fit for this role. And that's why I cannot envision a better selection than, you guessed it, Zendaya, baby. Valve knows that you loved her appearances in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. And they also know that she's played a leading role in the movie Challengers, which, for those of you who may not know, is a movie about tennis. And tennis is a sport. If you play sports, you have to be fit. You gotta have that muscle, just like Vipa Sista has in the game. So empirically speaking, this is just a match made in heaven. It makes perfect sense. For our fourth member of the T side though, things get a little bit tougher. I wasn't sure exactly who to put in the lineup next. It was kind of a toss-up between Number K and Getaway Sally, but at the end of the day, I think Sally is just a role with a lot more potential. Now there is one hugely difficult obstacle to overcome with Sally as a character though, and that's the fact that she has red hair, and I just don't know very many actors or actresses with red hair, which means Valve probably doesn't know of any either. However, I think there's a pretty sneaky loophole that we can use here. You guys remember Scarlett Johansson, right? So she doesn't have red hair naturally, but she did play Black Widow, and you might notice in that movie, her hair was red. Also, her name is Scarlett, which is also pretty on brand, so I think that would just be an epic inclusion, no way around it. And that brings us to our last coveted spot on the T side, and while there's once again a lot of great agents that could go here, a lot of really iconic people, okay, I think there's really only one choice at the end of the day, because if Daryl doesn't show up in this movie somewhere, there's gonna be riots, we already know. Daryl's the most expensive agent skin in the game, he's one of the most coveted, he's got like 5 or 6 different forms. It's kind of ridiculous, but in part because of his iconicness, Daryl is a character with a lot of stuff going on. Casting this guy will probably be the most difficult choice Valve has ever made as a company, because while it's easy to envision an actor that would be perfect in each of the individual versions of Daryl, at the end of the day, they're all the same guy, so you have to have somebody who's so talented, so dialed in on that source material, that they're able to capture all these different sides of him at the same time. And that's not going to be easy, I don't think. At first, I kind of thought the play would be to pick someone who's already accustomed to playing a character named Daryl. So like Norman Reedus, who plays Daryl Dixon in The Walking Dead, or Craig Robinson, who plays Daryl from The Office, or even maybe like Kevin Richardson, who voiced Sheriff Daryl Blubbs in Gravity Falls. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized the answer to the Daryl dilemma was not any of these fine gentlemen, but instead a different actor entirely. You know him, you love him, it's time to bring on Dwayne Johnson. Now, I did some research on how much it costs to book Mr. Johnson for a role like this, but the only solid figures I could find were on this website called Celebrity Talent International, which cited a minimum fee between $2 million and $2.5 million. But to be real for a second, like, what the fuck? Even I know that's way too low, it doesn't even make sense. An actor of this caliber is going to demand a pretty chunk of change, which, if I were to guess, probably is in part why Valve has only been releasing cosmetic updates since CS2 came out. There can be no doubt that all of those armory passes you've purchased have gone directly toward funding this amazing, one-of-a-kind appearance in the CS movie, and I, for one, have very little doubt that Dwayne Johnson's performance as Daryl will be quite the astounding one. So that's our T-side team, definitely some great actors there, they look pretty fresh, but now it's time to move on to the CT side, and I don't know, man, the agents on this side just don't have the same kind of personality as the others. Now, I know they're counter-terrorists and everything, so these guys just don't have the same level of swag as the T's do. They're all just various flavor of law enforcement, but man, we gotta get some real talent on this side if this is ever gonna work, because these guys can be pretty boring. That being said, I do think there's a good couple that have some pretty well-defined personality, including the very first pick, who I think would be the leader of the CTs in the movie, and that is Lieutenant Commander Rick Saw, an egregiously American man who I think would really win over audiences at the box office. Now, from the moment I saw this guy and read his flavor text, I knew there was only one actor capable of portraying him faithfully, and that is, of course, the very talented Jack Black. In recent times, Jack Black's age has begun to make itself more and more apparent. You know, he's probably not jumping around back like he was in School of Rock, but if anything, I think this actually makes him better prepared for the role of Rick Saw. The character leaves room for his iconic graying Minecraft movie beard without it looking out of place, and the character also allows him to be funny and creative, which is what audiences love to see from him the most, obviously. I can imagine he'd probably be a sort of mentor figure within the movie too, which could definitely lend itself to some funny moments. Like, here, picture this. So, remember in the Minecraft movie when Jason Momoa's fighting in that arena and Jack Black goes, "Chicken jockey"? I mean, that scene was iconic. Audiences were losing it during the chicken jockey scene. Everybody remembers it. Well, I think there's an opportunity for us to do something like that here, too. Imagine the CTs on Dust 2, the 5 of them around that corner, and a shot cracks off. They look out into the distance and see Scarlett Johansson's character with the op, and they all gasp, and the camera zooms in on Jack Black, and he just goes, "Op!" You can't tell me that wouldn't have audiences cackling. That's the kind of movie magic that we expect of Jack Black, and it's what he's gonna bring to the CS film. Moving on from Jack Black though, next up we have a special agent out there, Special Agent Ava to be exact. She's gotta be one of the most iconic CT agents in the game, which is why she will be played by the equally iconic Constance Marie, who you may very well know for playing Angie Lopez on the iconic George Lopez show. Unfortunately, even a cursory glance at Miss Marie's recent acting career tells us that she's definitely been taking a step back from large roles, especially recently, but I think she would understand that she is literally the perfect candidate to play Special Agent Ava, and for that reason, I would expect that she'd be on board. I don't see it as a problem. Next, we have Commander May Dead Cold Jameson, who is a character that I think would benefit from an incredible on-screen portrayal by Luna Lauren Valise, and I think this actress is perfect for one simple reason. She's already played a law enforcement role in the past, as Maria LaGuerta from the hit television series Dexter, which is also fitting because originally I was going to cast Michael C. Hall in our next role, Blueberry's Buckshot, but at length I decided that I think there's a better choice here, and that is of course Pedro Pascal. One of Mr. Pascal's biggest strengths outside of being awesome is that he's already been in a video game adaptation before, which means just like for The Last of Us, we can doubtlessly expect that he'll spend hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours faithfully poring over the source material in preparation for this big moment. If you think Pascal did a great job playing Joel, just wait till you see him as Blueberry's Buckshot. It's gonna be big. Now, we're kind of breezing through the CTs here, and we're already on to our last one in fact, and I think this one's going to be somewhat contentious. This might not be a casting that everyone agrees with, but I think there's a definite case to be made that our fifth and final CT member will be Kemhaz Captain. Now, why do I think this, right? Well, the beauty of this character is that they're entirely covered in this head-to-toe hazmat getup, and at first you might think that that really puts a damper on casting anyone in this role, since we're never going to see who it is behind the mask, but I have a feeling that Valve is seeing this less as a problem and more as an opportunity to go ahead and cast someone who you would never expect to see, maybe even an Easter egg character of sorts. There's a lot of important people from throughout Counter-Strike history that would do amazing in the role of Kemhaz, from a prominent Counter-Strike content creator such as myself, to foundational figures responsible for the game's success. I mean, maybe even Gaben himself, who's to say? But if I were to be the one to guess, if somehow painstakingly choosing who to cast in the role of each and every character in this movie was somehow my decision, then I know exactly who I'm electing to play the fifth and final CT.
Oh, Kerrigan! There's the aim you want from him, and look how stoic he is!
And there you have it. Once everything is said and done, these are the folks that I think are most likely to play a role in the Counter-Strike movie. I mean, what a roster. With picks like these, there's no way that people don't turn out to see this film in droves. It's gonna be so hype. Overall, pretty happy with the castings, but I guess I am a little bit sad that Valve couldn't find a role for Bryan Cranston. I mean, this guy would have killed it in this film. I love you, Bryan Cranston. Oh well, I guess if it does well enough, there's probably a good chance we'll see a sequel. The Counter-Strike 2 movie. How cool would that be?